About, there was the problem we saw with here yesterday
Hmm.
was a mass shooter there in Raleigh.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it came by way of a 15-year-old child that somehow lost his way. Somehow came away with um, not understanding a situation when it happened. So, talk a little bit more about that. I know with it being a 15-year-old child, with being a situation that really highlights what you do, to
Hmm.
talk to these council and stuff like that. Talk a little bit more about that and what was your mindset when you heard that?
Absolutely. So I can tell you that I heard about this drive in, and of course, we don't have all the details. So I won't sit here and say, oh, here's the reason, here's what could have stopped things, here's what could have made things better in this moment. But I can give the basic generalizations of what I know, having worked with kids for a very long time, and many kids who have aggressive tendencies or different behaviors that can be destructive. And this would be one of the highest level destructive behaviors that we've seen. And unfortunately, we have seen a number of these examples.
It's hard. So when, as a parent, now we're going to go to the parent side now, and you want to, you like to think and you pray that these parent, it's a good parent situation, it's a good household. He just kind of lost his way.
Certainly.
But as a parent, what should you tell your kid, especially after them? They're going to hear this at school today.
Yes.
They're going to have extent conversation about this situation. Um, as a parent, what should we say to these kids?
There's a couple of things to consider here, and I'm going to defer a little bit to another professional. Dr. Egger, she is out of Duke. She created Little Otter. She has an amazing article on how to talk to kids about these sorts of situations, mass shootings, worldwide traumas, different big events that affect us all in a really, really difficult way. So that would be one of the steps that I would want to send parents toward is look for those good resources from people that you know you can trust and that are professionals in the field from different parts of the field. As I said, I know a lot of things and I'm not afraid to refer out and defer out as needed to make sure that everyone gets the information they need. From there, the most important thing today is to answer questions honestly, but at the level that your child is able to fully understand and to take in. So, for example, I might talk to teens about, hey, what do we what do we need to talk about with your friends, and what do we need to touch base on? How can I make sure that you know you're supported? How do I make sure that you know that I care? Those sorts of
Mm-hmm.
conversations, which seems a little, how do you know that I care? Seems a little silly at first, but just having the conversation can be supportive enough. For our younger kids, it may be, yeah, something sort of bad and sad happened. Did you hear about it at school? What have you heard so far? Let me dispel any myths or falsities, and let me move forward with making sure that you know that you are safe.
Yeah, and Kelly Syfan joins us here. She is with Applied Behavior Happiness, like she does every single Friday, a part of our local talk program here on Next Door Radio. This is Behavior 911 program that we liked. I love the name. I know you came up with it a couple weeks or about a month or so ago. But talk a little bit more now regarding, and we're going to stick with the parent side because as a parent of a 5-year-old, learning life, literally knows more than me, which is a little scary. And I'm 35 years old. So what is the parent thinking now? What are they thinking? What's running
Yeah,
through their head? What did I do wrong?
certainly. In this moment, are we looking at the parent of the child
Mm-hmm.
who did this? Yes. So having worked with many, many parents, I can tell you that very, very good, wonderful parents, fantastic parents, can still work through a lot of challenging behaviors. It's not in, your child's behavior is not indicative of your worth. It's not indicative of their worth. It's not indicative of who they truly are. What we come down to is there are different things that affect behavior that we can't control immediately as a child. We just don't have the brain development. We don't have that frontal lobe there. We have a chemical imbalance. We have a reinforcement history. We have whatever may be going on. And so the biggest thing when I'm working with parents when we see big behaviors, again, usually I don't see behaviors quite this big, but we can talk through it either way, is it's not your fault and it's also not their fault in this moment because this is a child and we need to think through what can we do to fix this behavior rather than what can we do to punish myself or what can I do to or rather, do I need to sit and think that my child is awful forever? One of the things that I love and have taken a lot from the last couple of years is my studies into nonviolent communication and how it's been used to bridge the gap between war parties in countries. And it's been used to help people rehabilitate and not have higher rates of recidivism out of the prison system. So if we go, what are the opportunities for growth here, and we take the step past guilt and allow the grief and move into growth, we can start making good steps forward toward healing.
So if you're tuning in, or you haven't turned on the news or the radio or looked at the newspaper, what we're referring to is 5 people were killed in Raleigh shooting, including off-duty officer. The suspect was taken to custody. He was a 15-year-old child. I actually found out about it on the way back from a cross-country meet from Clayton, and we were driving through the area of Raleigh, and so, of course, our parents were a little bit, hey, please be careful. Our kids are on here. I said, look, we're going to stay on the bus. We're not getting off. So I decided about 7:30, we're just going to drive through. We're going to go home. And so it's a hard situation to kind of, again, it's a sad situation, of course. This kid's life is ruined. He's 15 years old. I think he had a wound to the head situation, if I'm reading the reports correctly. If I'm off, I apologize about that. But I just, there's not much more, because we don't know what the kid was thinking. We don't know what he was thinking. I mean, how do you process that?
That's a difficult one, because you're right. It's not just the loss of the 5 lives. It's the effect on all the different communities, which are the local communities, the people that were driving through in that moment, like you and your team were. It's the effect on all of us in the world that are listening to this and connecting it to our own personal tragedies or other tragedies that have occurred. It's a very, very big loss. And if we hone back in on just this child themselves, as you said, 15 years old, we're still a child. You're absolutely right. That this is another life lost in its own way. And when we're looking at this as a community, again, I want to urge that we go from guilt into grief, and when we finish grief, we go into growth together. Raleigh's mayor this morning was talking about we need to show each other and connect and show that we care, reach out to those that you love, and that is a part of the process of preventing the next child from hitting this point. How do we make sure that we are connected through, that we are taking the steps to make sure that we're supported and we're supporting each other so that we can save the next life? And again, when we save that one life of that child, we also save those 5 lives that were lost.
Kellie Syfan joins us here. She's by way of Applied Behavior Happiness, part of our Behavior 911 segment every single Friday, beginning at 10:15 on Local Talk and Nextdoor Radio. Find everything we have done by way of our website, nextdoorradio.com, under the program and recording tab. My name is Trey Snyder. Phone number 919-618-9258, and it's brought to you by Little Caesars, home of the hot and ready pizza. So now we're going to switch over to a couple different things here, kind of end our segment here shortly. Halloween is around the corner.
Yes, it is.
The holidays are here. My son is excited. He's going to be a pirate for Halloween. He's got it now. Even my dog is going to be a pirate somehow, which I disagree with. But that's another story for another day. My wife loves it. I have my pirate costume. My wife has her costume, so we're ready to rock and roll and win some contests. You know what I'm saying? So what to look out for the holidays? We're going to be trick or treating. We're going to go to different houses. Of course, we got to be safe and the safety of it. Give some tips and some updates on the Halloween season for kids.
Certainly. So know that when we bring in new foods, so lots of sugar, lots of candy, when we bring in new you already know,
Yes.
New activities and late nights, what we're going to often see is, this is fantastic, I can't handle it. Yeah. So and this is actually a very interesting segue, because we went from this is too much, I can't handle it, into a big behavior. We're going to talk about how it can turn into just a meltdown, or into I'm having a really good time and now all of a sudden I'm literally bouncing off the walls and hitting people. And I'm happy, but I'm doing this. It's when we've got so much sensory input, so much change, and so much routine being all flipped around, even though it's fun. And I'll hear this often from parents. We went to Disney. We thought it was going to be amazing. It was the worst. We went on a fantastic trip. We can't imagine, this was the best. How on earth could it have gone so badly? We went to this wonderful Halloween trick-or-treat, and halfway through, he was having so much fun. 3/4 of the way through, it was a complete disaster, and it ruined the whole night. Well, what you're seeing there is that overwhelm. So what you can do ahead of time, both for safety and for practice to get away from that and to reduce the risk of that, is to do some walking through during the day, some talking about it ahead of time, answering those questions as best you can as to how things are going to be different. Having visual schedules is needed, just making sure that there is some planning and stability to lean into when those moments get tough. Again, that'll help on the safety side because they know what to expect next. They won't be running off to the next thing. They'll know how to come with you and move with you, stay together.
So this next question literally has to do with me. So
Beautiful.
let's rephrase that. So how do I tell my son, my 5-year-old, hey, Daddy needs this candy. I have to eat this candy. How do I tell him that?
So is it the candy that he trick or treated in your?
Oh yeah, I take it.
Yeah.
That's just me. I know I steal it. I steal on my own son's candy, but it is what it is.
Well, okay, that's fair. So what we can do here is we can turn this into an opportunity talking about sharing. We could turn it into an opportunity talking about long-term investment versus save versus spend. So let's take that latter example. So let's say, hey, buddy, before we even go trick-or-treating, we're going to invest some in, the people that took us around. We're going to spend some. It's all for you to eat. We're going to save some, for tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And let's decide ahead of time how much that is. So it becomes a greater lesson instead of oh my gosh, why is somebody taking my candy all of a sudden?
Look, that's why I love having you here. You settle me down a little bit, so I love it.
I got you back, Trey.
There you go. Look, I always enjoy having you here. Thank you so much. Where can our listeners find some more information about what programs you have, how to get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Absolutely. So you can find me at appliedbehavioralhappiness.com. You can give me a call at 984-235-1058. And I'm on social media at Applied Behavioral Happiness.
So thank you so much. God bless you. Again, she is Kellie Syfan with Applied Behavioral Happiness, a part of our Behavior 911, part of our local talk program, and Next Door Radio. Until next time, God bless. We'll see you later.